Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Reconnect webinar and staying with us for this long. We move on to the penultimate but a very important session for the day. We have Nisha B, founder of Elevated Consultancy, with us, and she will be taking you through how to chart pathways towards resilience, recovery, and growth in post COVID 19 times. Nisha, welcome back. Thank you for joining the Reconnect conference, and I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Shivani and Naboni. Good evening to everybody. Good afternoon to whichever part of the world that you're in. I'm from Singapore right now. It's in the evening at late 7-ish at this moment. I'm so happy to meet all my industry colleagues, if not in person, at least via this Zoom connection or this Google Meet connection. Today's topic is something that has been in the minds of today. I have been listening to lots of conversations that's been happening since afternoon with many speakers and tourism boards. And I think this is a recurring question as to how do we recover from the COVID if and when it happens? And how do we build our resilience and get our destinations ready? As we have witnessed many destinations, including our little dot here, Singapore, we have also been getting ourselves prepared, ready, and there are different phases that we have been going through. So today I will try to bring some of the best practices from Singapore as well as around the region and hopefully some globally as well to see how we could generate some ideas together as a global industry. I think we are in this together. It's not about the Western world and the Eastern world or somewhere in the North or the South, but I think as a tourism industry, we are in this together. As we collaborate, as we do our partnerships, as we generate ideas and share and help each other cope with this crisis, I think we would only come back as a better industry than ever before. I always say that we are not bouncing back to where we were. We are going to bounce forward into a better future for all of us in this industry. With that, I'll just like to begin my slides. At any point in time, if you can't see something, please raise that and the ladies will inform me. Okay. As the ladies have just given a little bit of an introduction, I come from the industry. I'm very passionate about industry. 25 years, can't get out of it. And I hope to see more years of me here. And because I have been in the industry in terms of tourism marketing, destination marketing, MICE industry, and then moving on to consultancy work. Today, I work with many of the tourism destinations that are in our conference as well. In the recent years, I have been involved in the empowerment and development of women in the tourism industry and also in the area of sustainability. So I'm an academic. So therefore, some research will be brought in, some frameworks will be brought in because that's what most academics do. But I also want to apply it to some of the best practices that we have on the ground as well. So 3 things that I hope to touch within the next hour or so. There's very little time, but some strategic plans, that we could think of by bringing best practices around the world and see how we could chart our pathways into the recovery phase and then move on to a more flourishing tourism industry compared to what we were even before the pandemic. Some insights, some research to plan our trajectories, as well as some critical questions that I want to leave our industry with to think about where next. How do we future-proof our industry? So let's take stock of where we are at the moment. If we look at the different phases, I think different countries are in a different phase at the moment. And it's sometimes very important before we chart our strategic pathways forward, we need to know exactly where we are rather than to copy what another country is trying to do. So what I'm saying is that, for instance, Singapore is already moving on to the second phase where we have gone into a travel bubble. We have just opened up the corridors between countries with very low COVID instances, and that's New Zealand and Brunei. And some form of travel with China as well, some with Malaysia. So as of September, we have opened up Brunei and New Zealand for non-essential essential travel as well. In domestic tourism virtually doesn't quite exist for us. Many countries here who are listening to me are really blessed that you have the opportunity and the time to look at how you are going to develop your regional areas, your peripheral areas. You can start concentrating on the development of some forms of tourism that have been neglected because we have been thinking too much of the positive impacts that international tourism can bring to us. Unfortunately, in Singapore, we may call it domestic visitations or whatever, but we don't have that sort of domestic tourism. Intra-regional travel has already been cited now in certain parts of whether it's a European continent or in the Asian region as well. We are seeing some forms of regional travel. And research is showing that next to domestic tourism, we may begin to see the first thing that's going to happen is intra-regional travel. And here is a good time to think very carefully about, in the past, what sort of strategies each region has been putting into place to foster regional tourism. Have we been concentrating too much on international tourism that we have neglected our own neighbors? And I think we all know the meaning of neighborliness, and this is the time when neighbors come together and we are able to elevate each other and create a trajectory of tourism if we are able to now collaborate between our neighbors. It could be similar forms of tourism to different forms of tourism that we all share in the region. And finally, whenever I think today we've been talking about digital vaccines to when are we going to get vaccine and giving consumer confidence to do international travel. I mean, we are all crystal gazing at the moment. We really don't know where the international borders are going to open. So I think we could really think carefully about the domestic, bring in green corridors or green lanes, and of course the intra-regional travel and how we are going to do that. So if you look at the framework, these are the four phases. And the last phase is probably after we've got more assurance in terms of health and safety when the vaccine developments are in place. So I want to show you this diagram, which is going to frame what I'm going to be speaking about later, because sometimes when we have an overload of information, it's difficult to categorize and say, what do we concentrate on as tourism boards or tour operators or DMCs or MICE planners? What do we do when we have so much to do on hand? So it's a category that looks at what destinations and tour suppliers and disintermediaries can put into place. And if you want the full report, you can go into MasterCard, Crescent Rating Travel Readiness Report 2020. It's a really detailed report, downloadable. So I use this to frame what I'm going to be speaking about later. So the first thing that countries today have to really, really think carefully about is health management. If we are able to position health value proposition, as we all know, there is a current tagline that is trust is the new currency. All right, people may have the money, but if we don't give them the trust, they are not going to travel to another destination. So how we create that value proposition that we are a country that is safe. That means in your top of the mind awareness, when you think of a destination, when you're ready to travel, very confident of traveling, whether for leisure or for business, which is that first country that comes to your mind and say that this is a safe destination? What are we going to do to pitch ourselves at that point of a destination? So it's not so much about what we have in our destination in terms of our ecological resources, our local resources, but today is all about consumer assurance and consumer confidence. It's not about us anymore. It's about the travelers who are going to be coming in. So the first is health and management, and I'll be touching on that. The next is the economic side of that. Yesterday, I was listening to a conversation that was discussed with Dr. Rifai Talib, who was the previous UN General for UNWTO Tourism and Secretary General, and he was saying that it's not about creating international. Our agenda cannot be too focused on just generating international travel. How do we get travelers to start moving? Because that's something that is not in our hands as well. But a lot of our focus should be in looking at how do we retain our operations? How do we keep the industry going? How do we keep the employment in our industry going so much that when we come into a rebound or recovery phase, we have the organizations there, we have the communities there, we have the people who are passionate about being in our industry there. So our focus and our passion and our commitment and our conviction today should be about ensuring how do we keep the industry going? How do we keep the organizations afloat? How do we keep the hotels going, the airlines going, the lives and the livelihoods in this industry going? Should we be thinking collectively as a destination, collectively as an industry, what can we do to keep our industry going, right? And the final thing is about behavioral management. It's about how do organizations now look at the business of tourism? How do we redesign tourism experience? How do we innovate our tourism products and our tourism experience? Should we rethink success models? Should we be territorial about our industry, or should we be thinking about redeployment and bringing best practices? I'll share that a little bit later. Maybe we should have a more broader view and not to be territorial about each industry that is getting stuck at the moment. So that's a little bit of adjustments, and also societal adjustments. How do our society support policies or government initiatives or support the tourism industry? And I'll share some of the initiatives that are being targeted at our Singapore residents at the moment. How do we, help the tourism industry genuinely and not seize some of the incentives that's going to be given to us for our own self-interest, right? So I'll talk about the understanding of the society and the local community as well. So 3 areas, as I mentioned. I'll be talking about the first one right now, which is on health and safety. So health and safety protocols are there in almost every destination that I'm familiar with at the moment. It differs in terms of how strict we are and also how much we are creating clarity to the travelers, to our community, and to the businesses. How clear is the message? As we know, even today's newspaper, I was reading about Trump and the message he's giving to the public by saying that vaccine is coming tomorrow. No need to wear a mask. Vaccine is better than a mask, while the health advisories are saying that no, that's wrong, and mask is a lot more important than the vaccine, and it should be there, and vaccine will not be here till the mid of next year. Contradictory messages are going into the population, to the travelers, to the businesses, and therefore, when there is no clarity, how do you think consumers are going to come to your country? Because they really don't know what's in store. So a lot of information in terms of, if you are going to fly to my country, what you have to do before you come in. Once you arrive, what is going to happen? You are safe. Are you insured? Are you not insured when you enter in here? Are there going to be a quarantine? Are they not? Are we going to be supporting? What's the telephone number? We have this thing called contact tracing now, share with you. That's sort of a clarity in terms of safety protocols. You may have it there, but not that the visitors are going to know about what is going on. And do you have the relevant support system, call centers in there to support the people who are coming into your destination, right? And I'll talk about certifications, cleaning support, and the rest. So as I mentioned, trust is the new currency. And I think it's really, really critical that whoever in the industry, it's important to think about the demand and the supply side, yeah? Because if there is demand, people want to come to your country, but people at the supply side, hotels, local community, even if your staff of the hotel don't want to go to work because they are so frightened of contracting the COVID, then it is going to be a lost cause. So we have to think of it from a systems approach. We have to look at it from the various stakeholders who are coming into a country and supporting the destination. So in Singapore, I like this because it was one of the first initiatives that was rolled out in Singapore, is the cleaning support of tourism-related establishment. Whether you are going to do constant cleaning every other hour, or if COVID tracing was done and it was found that a hotel has got traces of COVID and there were COVID people who entered the premises, immediately the government supports in terms of money to clean the whole premise. Because if those of you know who are hoteliers here, you know it's a very, very expensive task of cleaning the hotel every other hour. And the moment you hear of a contact of COVID in your establishment, the whole cleaning process can be a very, very, very laborious and financially heavy obligation. So there could be an instance where the hotels or the organization may not be transparent. They don't want to be honest about the fact that they have got a case in there, even their staff, all right? But if the government comes in and say, no, we are here to support you, they need to be transparency and accountability, then at least the people in the organization who are working know that they're going into a clean environment. The people who are going to be entering your premises, whether it's local or tourists, will also know that you are entering into a safe zone. So here is where I think it's about the psychological initiatives and strategies over here, not just the physical means of cleaning the premises, right? So this is something that I thought was a really, really good initiative that fostered a lot of confidence here in Singapore. And I also noticed this in other countries. We have this SG Clean certification, and later after this, I also saw countries like in Thailand also trying to bring this together. It is a certification that is given to encourage every single establishment in Singapore to have a clean assurance. So this is a certification to say that, and once you paste this certification or a label outside your hotel or tourism attraction or shopping mall, it gives visibility. You know, people who come in know that you're entering a safe premise. So it is a certification or accreditations are important because you may claim you are safe, yeah, but how do people trust you is a very important thing to think about. How do you know that the people there are trained to keep the environment safe? So nothing beats a certification. And of course, the body that governs it is also very critical. It cannot be given by anybody. And in this situation, a government organization has to take charge of the standards, the SOPs, the initiative, the risk management frameworks that you have in place. And a certification is absolutely one of the best ways to keep your destinations ready or get yourself ready when the doors and borders are open. Recently, we have launched a Trace Together token and an app. The app came some time back, but the token, again, is a very, very important thing because we have started to open up Singapore for events. We just opened up last week for 250 people and more together at a premise. And that confidence only came about because we are almost negligible, maybe 1 or 0. Yesterday was 0 in the community. I'm not talking about the dormitories, but in the community was 0 COVID cases. And today was, I think, 1. And when confidence is coming up, we need to open up. We have to get our economy robust once again. We cannot afford to be at this point where there is a complete shutdown or very limited 50 people gathering at an event. The MICE industry is so critical to us in Singapore. We are one of the top ranked in Asia and in the world, ranking number 3 in the world for events and number 1 in Asia. And we can't afford it. We can't have just 50 people convening. So we are opening up to 250 people, and there are other supporting things that we are doing. But the moment we open up, we need to know that we have everything in place. So we have these tokens and Trace Together. Everybody who enters Singapore have got to have this Trace Together so that we know if there is any case immediately. We are talking about within minutes, if not seconds, we know how to trace who was the one who started the chain of incidents of COVID in our country. So that's sort of confidence that we don't have to worry. We know what's going on. We know who are the people that we are surrounded with. We know if something happens, we are going to be taken care of almost instantly. That sort of, again, confidence is important. Thailand, including, of course, you have Japan. They have the 3 Cs, and Thailand have come together with the Safety and Health Administration, similar to what I was also talking about, also foster cleanliness, safety, hygiene, and assurance to people who are in that country as well as foreigners who are coming in. The next thing that I want to very quickly round up, of course, there are many other initiatives, but within that 1 hour, I can only share this much. But what I'm trying to say here is that it's very important in a consumer or a traveler's mindset. How do you position your country that you have this top of the mind awareness, top of the mind positioning that happens the moment they feel that they want to travel? If it's fuzzy, it's hazy, people don't know what to expect, people don't know what they're going to get into, that is not going to create confidence. I hear conversations today, we need to get travel going, need to get confidence going, we need to get travelers to know that people are traveling, show pictures of that. We can do all that we want, but at the end of the day, let's look at it from the point of the consumer. If you ask me, if I am today confident of traveling to the US, I may not be confident because, again, the positioning of the country with lacking clarity, the positioning of the country in terms of its policies, to me, is not assuring. So I hear the same sentiments from many of the travelers. They fear because of what is on the other side of another country. So you may hear Singaporeans over here, yeah, we are quite okay to traveling out of Singapore, but what happens when we arrive in the other country? So give that confidence via your health and safety positioning and value proposition. The next is economic management. It's where I think the government plays a very important role, but I don't want to just put all the burden on the government, but I think there need to be a collaboration, a PPP, a private-public partnership, where the private companies, those who are in a position to support, should also come in to help. So while it is at the back of my mind, I just want to say this at this moment. Of course, as I'm going to show the next slides to you, you may say that, Singapore government may have the resources and therefore you get it. Today, I hear conversations that why isn't the Indian government helping? And I heard a very interesting comment. When you have money, then you can help. If you don't have the money, you can't help. There was an interesting comment that was mentioned, which is quite true, I think. But again, it's not all about money, but it's about how we mobilize the reserves. How do we mobilize the capital in a country? Sometimes if you have a capitalist nation or entrepreneurial sort of a nation, it's also to look at which entrepreneurs, which companies can support the government at this point in time, and how do you mobilize the ability of these companies to support the government. Give you an example is the way that Singapore Tourism Board is using Google and the financial sector to support our tourism industry to get digitalization and innovation happening. How does Google come in to help us move into digitalization is very critical, because it's going to become a touchless industry. All right. We always talk about an industry that is so high in touch points, but we are going to be a touchless industry very, very soon. And therefore, digitalization is going to be critical. So it's not possible just to roll out money, but can we get the tech companies to come in? We also get while we know that our industry may not be able to sustain the jobs much longer. Last week, we had the shedding of Singapore Airlines of 2,700 cabin crew and another 1,000 over non-cabin crew, and then pilots had to go as well. So you may say, Singapore Airlines have been written up, but we can't hold on the aviation industry for too long. But again, it's not just about letting them go, but how do we redeploy them? How do we mobilize them to other industries? So now there is a collaboration between the tech companies, the petrochemical companies, the retail companies are doing pretty okay here. How do these companies come together to help redeploy the manpower that was from our aviation and tourism industry? So one way is to look at the economic management is not just about doling out money, but it's also how the industries can support one another, especially our tourism and hospitality industry. So let's look a little bit into the economic management side of it. So in many ways, I think we have been pretty lucky in Singapore to hold us for a bit till the end of this year. So we have temporary redeployment programs, and many of our tourism industry players are now in hospitals. They are patient ambassadors. They are in retail companies. They have been deployed in banking sector. They have been deployed in the petrochemical sector. So we have actually done a concerted effort that has got career counselors, career coaches that are out there to ensure that there is an alternative to hold these people in other industries when time is back. The good thing is that we get them back coming into our industry with a lot more wide exposure, wide range of knowledge and best practices from other industry. Those people who are passionate will come back to the industry, but we have to ensure that their livelihoods are supported. We have to ensure that they are kept afloat until things pick up again. But this is where I think many of us are speaking and having dialogues about not being territorial. If we have to let go our staff, let's see how can we best get them into another industry. We have to give them coaching or counseling or find alternatives and find collaborative efforts to see how we could get them re-employed so that they gain the skills. Job support scheme, I think, has been so helpful to many of our organization. I benefited from this, where it's tiered this way. 50% of our staff in the tourism industry, 75% for the aviation salaries are paid for by the government. 75% to 50% of the salaries are paid for, so that we reduce the costs borne by many of the tourism organizations in Singapore. And to a large extent, that is really, really keeping us afloat. Seeing that money is helping through to keep the jobs. I think honestly, many of us don't want to let go of our staff, but I think if there is help, we certainly want to keep them. And this has been very, very helpful. There's also been business advising and consultancy. Many companies need help. In a lot of ways, I think many of our tourism organizations have been laid back. We have not been with best practices, and we have not been looking at cutting edge technology, cutting edge practices, very laid back. As far as technology is concerned, I have seen the most dinosaur looking tourism companies here in Singapore as well as in other parts of the world. I don't know when was the last time, you could tell me when was the last time that even your management went for training, looked at new business models or new ways of thinking, learning from other industries. I think we have been so like frogs in the well. And therefore, I always say that COVID is not the start of every problem that we are facing. It did not create problems. Some of the problems that we are facing, some of the problems were there for the longest time in our industry. The way that we had low profit margins, the way we were doing cutthroat pricing, the way that we were killing each other, the way we were doing mass production of our services, the way we were compromising on the quality of our services. I think these are symptomatic of businesses that should fail at any time. And I think crisis like this is an eye-opener that has actually told us and opened our eyes to say we have had some really bad practices in our industry. COVID is an amazing time for us to relook at it, and we need help. Fortunately, I think I have been hearing, I've got industry partners coming to me, and we have been speaking in the signature, can you relook at our business plans? Can you look at new strategies for us? And I think this is really good time where people are honestly saying, I think I have bad practices. I think I have not been really looking at proper strategies. Can you come in? And we are very open to looking at best practices from other industries. So we had that opportunity here where businesses were diversifying into digitalization, to adopting new ways and success models and innovation by having consultants and advisors coming in to help. Lots of organizations here are conducting training. And I think the one very good thing is that lots of money were rolled out for our industry to train. Again, our industry is so guilty of not training our people. I think we believe in upgrading hotels and not upgrading our people. We believe in upgrading to the latest software, and I don't know when we upgraded our software and which is our people. We download so many things into our apps, but we don't download knowledge. We don't download best practices. We don't download the latest cutting edge solutions and strategies in other industries, as well as what is happening as far as knowledge and training is concerned. So it's very disappointing. Very often, when I travel around the region, especially, I notice the quality of the staff, the quality of work that is being done in our industry, and somehow we don't blame customers when they start moving into doing self and independent travel, when they organize their own travel, because the trust in the quality of people in our industry has diminished to a huge extent. So again, this is an amazing time, right, where we can start to be very open and say, yes, we need help, we have bad practices, can we do something about it? So this is another support that has been offered here by both the private and the public sector. And of course, I'm sorry about the typo error. The rental and property tax waivers, again, has been so helpful to us. I mean, we were bleeding to pay our rentals for our premises, and rental, and even for the aviation sector, and property tax, we don't have to pay a property tax for this whole 2020. This was the latest that just came out a couple of days ago. The government is going to give 320 million. Why? Because almost every tourism attraction in Singapore is bleeding. They can't hold up anymore. And we have seen several tourism attractions say we're going to close. And therefore, the government said, okay, let's mobilize our domestic tourism. People may not have the money to spend or the inclination to spend. We need to incentivize people. 320 million people, $100, 18 years and above, everyone would be getting $100 in a digital voucher. And we could use it for our staycations, which is very after the high yield market. But relook at your internal resources. Do you have the mindset to entertain this market? Your staff, are they well prepared? Are they well skilled? I think skilling is such an important thing to do at the moment. And I have been advising people, bring in your trainers, bring in your consultants if you can afford it. Of course, there are free courses available in Coursera, to Udemy, lots. I mean, in my free time, sometimes it's so difficult to find, but whenever I can, I go for my walks. When I'm somewhere working out, I actually put on and go into Coursera and pick up the latest skill, the latest knowledge. Put your staff in there, get your staff to think of new models, get your staff to watch best practices. So what is your HR doing? What are your marketers doing in your organization to skill your staff to prepare themselves for these emerging markets out there? Service innovation, I'll talk to you about that in just a bit. And of course, by business diversification, I think I'm so awed by some companies that are now outsourcing their, whether they're a travel company and they are outsourcing their social media marketing division, they're outsourcing their accounting, they're outsourcing whatever they're good at their organization. That's a form of business diversification. Some of them are going into consultancy. So if you're really, really good in doing a form of, say, wellness travel or whatever, go into consultancy of a business practice that you are really good in your organization. So many things are opening up, things that I've never seen before. I've seen a lot of energy at the moment. While there was lethargy at one point, there's energy at this point where lots of people are brainstorming. People are so open to collaborations at the moment. The tech guys are coming in to help and support and understand where the tourism industry is at. And there are people who are waiting for collaboration with the knowledge that the tourism and hospitality industry have, and partner with people in the tech industry. So amazing things are there if we are willing to open our eyes and our ears. So a few things that I may want to touch on here is service touch points and innovations. I think we are going to be a touchless industry for sure. There's an era of safe, seamless, but touchless travel. I was just kidding to people. We are an industry that we believe in smiles. We need to smile. We need to sometimes even touch people. But post-COVID, everybody's going to be afraid of the touch. Everybody is going to be wearing a mask. So where are our smiles? So what are we going to do? How do we get innovations in our industry happening for us to make it seamless, to make it fast, but yet efficient, yet quality-driven? What are we going to do? And how are we going to make up for that in terms of our service provision. So we see contactless payments are already coming up. Digitalization is there. Robots in Taiwan, Taipei, I've been seeing that happening. Self check-in in many, many, many hotels are already contactless payments, and check-ins are already there. We are doing virtual tours, but they are charging for the virtual tours. We just have one that rolled out last week in Singapore about Cluedo, the murder solving game, and we are trying to bring people to paranormal destinations here in Singapore, but using a virtual experience and how people will solve these murder cases by going into these tourism attractions virtually. Stuff like that, Of course, we have contact tracing bracelets and QR code ordering. It's today we hardly touch anything. Everything is paid through card and our handphones, and the digitalization today. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So in Singapore, we have got this innovation launchpad. It's called Treehouse, and it's with the Singapore Tourism Board, where they are trying to get local companies to digitalize as much as they can and try to bring changes within our operation. So we test bed ideas here and to bring strong innovation in our hospitality and tourism organizations. That is why we have the Googles and the other tech companies coming in to support our organization. So this is another one where safety and hygiene, I put it down here, is going to be the new humanity. And I think this is something that is really, really critical at the moment to bring digitalization. So the next thing about in line with digitalization, we are moving towards a hybrid form of event, and this is one hybrid form of event, but it is going to be not 100% virtual, but no, this is virtual, sorry. Hybrid is where we will convene about 250 people, and Singapore is going to test bed two big ideas in September to bring in two large events, and the moment these two large events happen in a hybrid format, we are going to take this idea and share it with the rest of the world of what needs to be done to convene about 250 people or more into a physical space. And once that is done, I think we'll be confident to open up to foreign travel to come in for conventions. So the risk management framework is very, very important. It's there available for those of you who are interested to look at. These are some of the pointers that have to be there before any organization can go into a hybrid event in Singapore. Training is being done for this. Lots of support is given for this. And I suspect, I am confident that many of the companies in Singapore and are going to move into hybrid with physical presence of people in a area. And I think that's really critical for us. It's going to happen really soon in Singapore. The other one I want to really say to all of you here is that today, I think we are plagued by what I use infoxication. It's not intoxication, it's infoxication. We really need to look at this info obesity, the info glut, whatever you want to call it. We've just got so much of information that is toxic. We need to get rid of that. That is so painful to look at. It brings the energy down in our industry as well. I've stopped watching news on the COVID as well. I look for possibilities. So I like this, where McKinsey says that let's not look at the new normal, but look at the new possible. Look at human stories of resilience, human stories of how we have come together to help people, human stories of how we have braved this COVID, how we have supported each other. People from all dimensions have come together to help one another. Our industry has helped so many people who have been contacted with COVID. And it's amazing, the spirit of tourism and hospitality. To me, coming 25 years in this industry, I'm so proud of the way that we have got every little story that we can paint the moment we come up. So put a fabric of these beautiful stories of paint the new possible when people come and show what is the inspiration, what is the heart of travel that we are made of in this industry. So tell stories of that, and in Singapore we have this new incentive. We are asking people, come up with your SG stories of resilience, courage, and hope. And we want to put them together. The moment we are ready to advertise, we are going to take these stories and we're going to be advertising about how we wait for you here, and what courage, resilience, and hope is all for us here in Singapore. So these are important things to think about. I like this by CNN. One of the things that CNN found out is that, while we are not traveling physically, many of us are nostalgic. People want to travel, not for the sake of, scaling the Everest or wherever it is, but sometimes it's a connection. There's so many beautiful people who are listening to me, and I can't wait to hug you guys. There are so many beautiful people that I want to see again. When I left OTM this year, and I told Shivani and Laboni, and I said, I can't wait to see you guys again. So many beautiful people of mine, my friends in the industry that I want to see, my family that I want to see. We miss each other, and for that reason, we want to travel. And being very sensitive in our marketing is very, very important. Let's not be insensitive when we talk to people, start traveling. But I think we need to tell people, we are ready, but stay safe for the time being. When we are ready, we are there to bring you in. So CNN came up with these memories, CNN. But important people always ask me this question, Nisha, we don't have money to do marketing. So we forget about marketing. The wrong thing to do. Don't stop your marketing. If you don't have money, that's okay. Go into free ways of marketing. There's so many free ways of doing your marketing using social media. But look at empathetic marketing. Looking at the emotional route, emotional connection of how are we going to get people coming into our country. So look at what CNN is doing. Yeah. So there was Morocco, and they were just using 30 seconds of looking at how to bring people to remember Morocco and feel nostalgia, feel the love for traveling again. I like this is Greece. I think Greece is one another country that was pretty amazing, this video.
In our times, humanity is called upon to rise to a shocking challenge, with messages of hope and optimism being more imperative than ever. Life is an opportunity to contribute love in your own way. The root of joy is gratefulness. Embrace each challenge in your life as an opportunity for self-transformation. Do things to make your day precious. Open your mind to all possibilities and believe. Keep dreaming of all that Greece has to offer. The Greek sun, the beaches, the local traditions, and the smile of our people will be waiting for you to share many happy moments and memories as soon as conditions allow. When the time is right, we'll be there for you. Till then, stay safe.
Yeah, so these are some of the videos that I've been noticing. Greece from home. This I don't have much time, I think, but I love also what Club Med is doing. It talks about Club Med at home and very interesting videos you could watch. Every day they send videos of being in different parts of Club Med in different parts of the world. They send you yoga out. Workout. They show coloring pictures from different parts of the world where there is a Club Med. They show the recipes from their kitchen. They even have a dance party from one of their Club Med. I think this is really, really amazing, where you use your people. They're already there. Create experiences, share it to the homes of the people so that they will continue to remember you in a very positive way. And that is really sensitive marketing, empathetic marketing, and as well as nostalgia marketing. Now, I want to leave you. There's a lot I know, but there's a lot more we could speak about as well. But I want to leave you with two important thoughts. Let's take stock. How did we get here? Like I always say, that the COVID is not the problem. It's symptomatic of many problems that have happened in our industry. The way we have been so mindless and insensitive to development, the whole climate change issue have not bothered us. The way that we have done cutthroat pricing doesn't allow us to have reserves today for the bad times. To have the repertoire of skills that could be usable in other industries. What have we done to get to where we are today? Where do we want to go from today? Are we future-proofing us so that we will be so resilient when we arrive in a rebound or recovery? What sort of resilience are we building up in our organizations? I just want to leave you to thinking about something. What is the road ahead? I know we are all in a rush. I know aviation is doing badly, but think about this. Is this the right thing to do? Qantas is going to have a flight to nowhere, and Singapore Airlines is also going to launch a flight to nowhere. Qantas had, within a few minutes, people have booked completely on the flight to nowhere. What about carbon emission? A flight to nowhere. I don't know. Are we really being very sensitive here? Environmental group says, no, this is not a good thing to do. What experience are we giving our people? So we might want to relook and recalibrate where we are moving from here. Are we really, really future-proofing ourselves? It is time that we collaborate. It's time that we come together. Thank you very much. I would love to hear from anybody who is interested to connect. And I can't wait to travel when it's safe, when it's ready, when we all can meet in face once more. And till then, stay safe. We are in this together. And one day, very soon, we'll be out of this together. Thank you very much. And goodbye. And stay for the next one. We're going to have a panel on sustainability and regenerative tourism in our destination. Thank you so much.